Black Mesa, a mod that was developed for the sole purpose of reworking the classic game Half-Life, is a free-to-download title that attempts to resurrect what made the game so great to begin with. It's a risky feat that begs the question, why tamper with classic when the original is still readily available? Does Black Mesa develop a compelling argument to this question, or does it end up falling a little bit short?
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System.
Black Mesa tackles level progression in a very different way than most other first-person shooters, or for the most part, most other games in general do. It teaches you by means of exploration and use of your tools, rather than by following the next objective marker on the minimap. Black Mesa is all the more engaging for this. The world becomes more of a domain of exploration and experimentation, rather than a place that guides you by the nose out of fear that you might get stuck. This allows for the level designers to actually do their jobs in ways that are more interesting. Levels become more like puzzles rather than simple environments that lead from one confrontation to the next. The best part about this is that these puzzles often don't even feel like traditional puzzles. You never stop to play metagames like in BioShock, or drag boxes around a clearly designed puzzle room like in Zelda. The designers made it so that the game feels very much like you aren't solving puzzles, but instead are overcoming basic obstacles that make sense in the game world. The AI, on the other hand, seem to lack much of the finesse of the level design. The basic monster AI works fine for the most part, aside from the occasional four-legged creature running into a wall. The soldier AI is where the game suffers.
For God's sake, open the silo doors! They're coming for us! It's our only way out! Oh my God, we're doomed!
The soldier AI isn't horrible, but it can be extremely frustrating in ways that don't really make sense. For one, the soldiers will always rush you. This can work to your advantage more often than it does to your disadvantage. Over and over again, I found myself hiding behind some sort of cover, just waiting until they came to me. It ends up taking away a lot of the tactical gameplay out of the experience. And you often feel the need to do this because of the second problem the AI faces: their perfect aim. If there's one thing that drives me mad in FPS games, it's when the AI has the ability to hit you with every single bullet. It severely limits your tactics and makes things extremely difficult in a pretty unintelligent way. A game of planning and using the environment intelligently turns into finding a box and hiding behind it for most firefights. It doesn't necessarily break the game, but what it does is it makes most encounters with soldiers very unenjoyable. If it wasn't for my misplaced pride, I would have switched the difficulty to easy after a couple hours into the game. Somewhere nestled in between the quality of the clever level design and the poor soldier AI rests the game's platforming segments. Most of the time, these are very enjoyable and work in the game's favor, unless you are horrible at crouch jumping. But what really weighs against some of these segments is the brutal difficulty. You're expected to do a lot within a very strict control set. Your character's jumps are very short, almost realistically short. This makes what you have to accomplish all the more difficult. Most of the time your jumps have to be absolutely perfect. Any less than that will have you dying instantly and spawning back to where you last saved. Between the soldier battles and the platforming, it will only be a matter of time until you are saving with OCD-like tendencies. If your saving in Black Mesa is OCD, then the sound might be considered to be a little bipolar. Most of the original game is left untouched. No music, just you and the environment. Some might find this a little dull, but it actually works in the atmosphere's favor in many situations. The chatter of soldiers or the sound of a waking zombie is only intensified by this. Some music has been added to act as transitional pieces during pivotal moments in the game. I like these pieces. Most of the time they were spot on and helped intensify the mood, but they are incredibly jarring. By this I mean they are loud and add almost too much intensity to the game. When one of these pieces comes on, it feels a little out of place even if they fit in with the general feel of the game. It might be somewhat of a catastrophe if I didn't mention the visuals in Black Mesa, considering that's where most of the work has clearly been done. What they've achieved here is on nothing short of a professional level and breathes life back into a dated game. The graphics and the environments are somewhat of a mixed bag though. One area may look gorgeous and rival current gen standards, while a different environment might look a little worse than Half-Life 2. As an overall product though, it does what it set out to do and makes the game all the more enjoyable for it. Black Mesa is one of those rare games that could change your perceptions of what a first-person shooter can be. It transcends much of what we are used to today, with shooters that focus on killing enemies rather than challenging the player's intellect by engaging them in thought-provoking environments. In many ways, the game emulates how learning happens in the real world by challenging you to discover solutions to problems rather than simply handing them to you. While on the surface, Black Mesa may appear to be just a glorified graphical mod, it does much more for the genre. Black Mesa helps reignite the qualities of what made Half-Life such an important game in the first place.